Today I'm going to reveal my favorite Fujifilm camera of all time and why. Hi everyone, welcome to Tech. The very first Fujifilm camera I ever got was the X-T2, and it will always have a special place in my heart. But it's not my favorite. Now, before I share with you what my favorite Fujifilm camera actually is, a few ground rules. First, they have to be cameras that I own, cameras that I use all the time. And second, I always factor in cost, what you're getting in terms of features versus what you're paying for. Now, this was a very difficult choice, and I went back and forth on it. This camera came very close. It didn't get close enough. There was one camera that beat it out, and that camera is the X-T3. This is my favorite Fujifilm camera of all time. Does that mean it's perfect? No. Does that mean it has as many helpful features as the X-T5? No. Does that mean ergonomically it's better than the X-T5? No. Does this mean perhaps that it has better battery life? Definitely not. The X-T3 uses the older NPW126S battery. And I'll tell you something, as much as I love and the X-T3 is my favorite camera, these older, smaller batteries have a spit of power in them compared to the newer ones. Even with the older batteries, okay? The ones that have the spit of power in them, this is still my favorite camera of all time, and let me tell you why. One reason has to do with the settings on this dial right here. I like having the photometry settings on an actual physical dial like they were on the X-T2, okay? It's very helpful because I'm switching it constantly. And if you think about it, if you really think about it, do you need to have the stills and movie settings put right here? I never quite understood that, because if you want to put the X-T3 in movie mode, you can just rotate the drive dial and put it right into the movie icon. It's the same thing, right? Whether you rotate this dial here where they relocated it, or you rotate this dial right here where it originally was. The next reason has to do with some video settings that were removed after the X-T4, but the X-T3 still has them. If you go into the movie settings on the X-T3, there's an area right here called FLog HLG recording. Now the X-T5 also has this same section of the menu. However, on the X-T3, you'll notice that the camera will allow you, for example, if you shoot, say, with Eterna, it will put the Eterna footage on the SD card. However, it will also output FLog through HDMI at the same time, and vice versa. This is really helpful. Honestly, I don't know why they took it away after the X-T4. Maybe the larger sensor on the X-T5? I don't know, but it's not there anymore. And in fact, let me show you what it looks like on the X-T5. Going into the menu on the X-T5 now, if you go into that same area, have a look at this. You can't mix and match and split them between different outputs. And here's another little bonus that the X-T3 has over, say, the X-T5. If you go into the video settings on the X-T3, you'll see that you can shoot at up to 400 megabits per second. That's the highest that this camera can go. However, if you go into the X-T5, the highest bit rate you can get is 360 megabits per second. Now, to be clear, the video options and the quality and the raw output are much better on the X-T5. However, again, the bit rate is higher on the X-T3. That probably doesn't matter to a lot of people, but I found it interesting. The big deal, though, for me was the ability to mix and match those outputs, right, for FLog versus regular video. The next item is a little ergonomic, and that is the micro HDMI port on the X-T3. I have pretty much wrecked every single HDMI port on every single Fujifilm camera in this studio. They constantly break. Micro HDMI is the very worst thing I've ever seen come to cameras, and they need to change it ASAP. However, the X-T3 is the only camera that I have not broken it on. I don't know, maybe that's a coincidence, but I have managed to break it on every other X-T camera, but not the X-T3. And I don't even have the door on the X-T3 anymore. This thing is constantly tossed around, cords going in and out, yet it still goes strong. And speaking of this area right here, one other thing that I love about the X-T3 is that right here, you've got everything you need. HDMI out, USB-C connection, headphones, and mic. No extra dongles to have to carry around. Now, as I said earlier, the biggest drawback to the X-T3 by far is the smaller battery, okay? Once you start using that larger battery, you never want to go back to these smaller batteries. But you buy a few extra, it's not the end of the world. There is one final reason why I think this is the best camera, and that is the price. Take a look right here, you'll see it's just under $1,000 for a brand new silver body-only X-T3. Here's another one on sale, just a little bit over $900. Yet, if you look at the X-T5, you're looking at about $1,600. In other words, this one is $700 more than this one. That's another lens, or maybe two lenses, right? Or I don't know, a cage or an accessory, or maybe a light that actually works in this studio, something like that. The point being, $700 is a lot of money when you're talking about a difference between, you know, the model X-T3 versus X-T5. I am crystal clear about the number of upgrades and features the X-T5 has, and I love the X-T5. In fact, the X-T5 came in at number 2 on the list. The point being, the X-T3 is my favorite Fujifilm camera of all time when you consider all the factors. The number of features that you get on this camera for the price. No, you don't get IBIS. You do have a smaller sensor than the X-T5. For most photographers, do you need the 40 megapixel size sensor? I don't know. The X-T3, when it first came out, blew everyone's minds, okay? So why isn't it still blowing everyone's minds? It's a great camera. And of course, there is one final thing that really elevates the X-T3, the X-T4, the X-T5, and who knows, maybe an X-T6 one day. I've been saying it many times on this channel, and I'm just gonna say it one more time. This is the best camera on planet Earth to learn photography with. Hands down. You wanna learn photography, you wanna learn the exposure triangle, there is nothing better than actually having a dedicated physical dial for each part of it and actually feeling those corners of that exposure triangle as you're making the setting adjustments. I love that. I will never tire of that. I will never want a PASM dial over that. And as long as an XT camera is coming out, I will probably be getting one because those are my favorite models. And to be clear, there are lots of things I like better about the X-T5. Little things like the exposure compensation dial. It's much easier to turn. It has a better feel to it than the one on the X-T3. Again though, it comes down to this overall package of which I include price. Well anyhow, the X-T3 and I want to thank you so much for watching, and we really hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I'll see you in a new video very soon. Take care.